Okay, so I'm making a smartish or distraction-free phone, and it's more than just that. So I want to talk about this video. This is an old school video from I don't know what year. This was 1950s. If you want to watch this video for yourself, here's the channel. But I'm gonna go full screen with this. This is a basically like this was the future vision of the electric home, and the company was Westinghouse, and so we have this. I can throw some audio in here.
I've ever had the chance to talk about. It's the Westinghouse Total Electric Home. A home where electricity does everything. Heats, cools, illuminates, launders, preserves and prepares foods, entertains. It even lights a path to the front door with rayescent strip lighting.
So I'm going to keep playing this and get it. So what I love about this demo video was, it's back in the 50s, but it's showing like, okay, here's the future of what the home would look like. They're literally showing you would have a TV where you could see who's at the front door. There's lights that will illuminate your path as you walk up to the house. And we start talking about these different things. By the way, this chair is still iconic chair. Like to this day, this is one of the best chairs. And so when I'm talking about making a distraction-free phone or smartish phone, I'm not just talking about a phone. I'm talking about looking at the house and the technology that we bring with us into the house, right? The smartphone is like the key point because we have that with us all the time. So it's really important to make sure that that device is assisting us. It's not taking away all of our time and attention. So this is showing, this was like, it shows you the weather. Let's just tell.
Heating and air conditioning and the electronic air filtering of the entire house. If you like, the temperature of each room in the Total Electric Home can be set individually. And for the amateur weatherman, the control center reports outside wind velocity and direction, outside temperature and humidity, and barometric pressure. In the winter, the press of a button de-ices the front walk and driveway. In summer, an automatic control starts the...
Okay, so things like this, and I'm kind of going back and forth here, but it's like we starting with the phone. I'll just continue to play this here, and making sure that it's not taking away our time and attention, because at the end of this is really all about a lifestyle vision. Okay, I don't think that our greatest way of living is by looking at screens 24 hours a day, right? Or like, I'm exaggerating, but like for hours and hours and hours and hours a day. But technology serves an amazing purpose, and we have all these amazing devices. The only issue is that most of these devices have been pushed towards how to maximize your attention, how to take as much attention as possible from you, as opposed to necessarily like helping you exist better in your life and with other people, by the way, because a lot of this technology is so isolating because we're interacting through the technology as opposed to interacting with each other as humans. Just quickly, this is like a cool thing I thought that they, one of the things that kind of hasn't made it into the house, which was like a grill to cook indoors. There was also like a heater element, which is pretty cool.
That looks like fine furniture. For convenience, the upper unit of the refrigerator opens from both sides.
Right, like there's innovations here that make a lot of sense. Like I've talked on the podcast about like smart refrigerators are dumb because basically like just putting a screen on a refrigerator doesn't make it better, right? But there are ways to improve like a refrigerator, for example, and you might want to do things like that, like having a way to get into it from both sides. Like who would have known? Like why don't we have that, right? Or things like a freezer that you lift up out of your... I'll have to show some video clips of some of this other stuff, but I'm not getting into like appliances as of yet. right now we're just talking about really like the place of entertainment. It was always a place. It's always been a place in the home before the television. You know, it was people playing piano and playing music for each other and having little plays, or just inviting people over to the house to talk and socialize, right? Have parties and things like that. But then, you know, the television became increasingly more of a part of the environment. So that's like the next thing. It's like, okay, well, if we put the phone in its place, which is it's still a really useful device where we can still keep in contact with the people that we need to. We can have some wireless music happening through Bluetooth. You can play music, have it as like a little, like an iPod. You know, obviously that's an Apple name, but like having it as a little portable music player. And like here, like there's your record collection. Like also pretty cool still. So some of these things I think are also important. Like I believe in physical media. So having a physical record collection like is awesome. Like that's a pretty cool little organizational setup for that. But so like the elements that we have in a typical house, like they haven't changed. It's just that things are sort of out of proportion. Like there's just too much attention on the phone and too much attention on the TV as well. It's not that these things are not important. Here they are throwing a projector on, which is also like stuff we still have. We still have projectors, okay? Although they're showing like maybe their own content where, a lot of times we're like consuming other content. So I just love this video. I just recommend like watching this video if you have a chance, because it's just such a cool like vision. And Apple has also had a great like vision video also about like what their vision of the future is. Now they even have more recent videos where they show the home and how these different devices help each other communicate through the house and connect and but most of it's just entertainment based, right? My thing is like there's still going to be some entertainment, but it's just going to need to have its place. And when we remove the distraction, we still have music, we still have some entertainment, but it's not taking over all of your time, right? And when you have things like, when you rely on like physical media for movies, for example, if you buy Blu-rays as opposed to streaming all of your movies, you end up like watching maybe less, but you're more intentional with what you watch, right? Same thing with games. Instead of signing up with a service where it's a subscription based and you have access to all these games, huge library, like you might end up playing more, but you're not as discerning. You're kind of switching back and forth, and at the end of the day, you really probably only enjoy like less of the truly enjoy less of the stuff. So my thing is like, do one at a time. Like if you want to play a video game, just have a physical disc or a physical cartridge. Like slowing it down that way, so that it's just the devices that we have, the phone, the television, your tablet for reading and things like that, they just need to not be pulling you and like pulling your attention. Like there's not really a good tablet that I would want to buy or e-reader I would want to buy, because when you start it up, it's like trying to sell you books, like that's not what I want to do. It's like my vision of a tablet is like, it's there just to read, right? Like it's not there to sell you a ton, and it's not there to try to like, there's web browsers on tablets, there are all this like extra stuff. It's like there's some propensity for whatever reason, like for all the devices that we have and that we've created that are incredible, or the phones, the TVs, the tablets, right? For whatever reason, we can't just focus on what really makes that device great in its place. We have to try to make that device do everything possible. And I see this with services as well. Like, instead of just being really great at the thing it's great at, it tries to just like evolve into different spaces, and it becomes this like all-in-one thing, where I think like we still want things like smart lights, right? Like there's smart lights are a cool thing, right? And be able to interact and control those makes sense. But again, this like, it just without pulling your time and attention. So I'm not like commenting on this video as much as just to show that like it's a cool thing of like things haven't necessarily changed in terms of like, you know, food, family, you know, your lighting, your temperature, your entertainment. Like these kind of things make sense to me in a smart home, like appliances that work well. But what we have kind of devolved into is just this devices that surround us in our home that are sucking our time and attention away. So I want to have an alternative vision of those same devices, except they stay in their place, like they're really useful for what, just in their little place, and they're in it. They're not trying to make, how do I say this? They're not constantly trying to get more of your attention, and it's like we're happy if you use them less, right? Whereas all the other companies seem to be, or the majority of companies right now, especially the huge ones, their goal is to suck up as much time and attention as humanly possible. And every app is vying for your attention as much as humanly possible, right? To consume as much of your time and ultimately to sell you more things. So it's like taking all of that away, taking the time suck and attention away. So anyway, let's say Apple's future vision. This was like a pretty interesting one as well, which I thought was really cool. Might as well watch it while we're here. I'll mute the music, even though it's probably copyright free because it's just some classical music. This is more like, okay, here's the work environment. Guy comes in to the office. Looks like a home office. And there's not like a huge computer even on the desk. It's more of just kind of like an iPad.
Your graduate research team in Guatemala, just checking in. Robert Jordan, a second semester junior, requesting a second extension on his term paper.
So this is like, I guess, a college professor's vision. And it's really like, we kind of have like an AI assistant here, communicating your schedule and that sort of thing.
And your mother reminding you about your father.
Surprise birthday party next Sunday.
Today you have a faculty lunch at 12 o'clock. You need to take Kathy to the airport by 2. You have a lecture at 4:15 on deforestation in the Amazon rainforest.
Right.
So, you know, these things, again, like the fundamental things are the same. What's on your schedule, like your calendar, right? With your contacts. And he's gonna go into this like a little bit of like a almost ChatGPT-ish thing.
Let me see the lecture notes from last semester. No, that's not enough. I need to review more recent literature. Pull up all the new articles I haven't read yet.
Journal articles only?
Fine.
Your friend Jill Gilbert has published an article about deforestation.
So I think, like, this vision of the future, like, maybe Apple will kind of get there eventually. Like, it's, to me, this is much more like the future I would have liked to see. Whereas the future that we have is more like, hey, watch Apple TV. Hey, like, watch this movie, consume more content, like, browse indiscriminately, as opposed to like this, which is much more like a focused experience around someone's work like life, right? Like these tools are very specific to that, and then there's no distractions. I mean, like we have our little agent here, I guess, which I'm assuming is this person. We have our schedule. There is like a little movie thing here, so I'm not sure exactly, like maybe this is I don't know. This is the entertainment piece, perhaps, and this is like for reading books, maybe. Let's continue.
In the Amazon, and its effects on rainfall in the sub-Sahara. It also covers drought's effect on food production in Africa and increasing imports of food.
Contact Jill.
I'm sorry, she's not available right now. I left a message. Called.
So again, like, kind of interesting, right? Like, he needs to contact somebody. Again, nothing's really changed there. You still need to contact somebody. This is just adding like an actually like useful feature. Like, oh, they're not available, but I already left a message for you. Kind of a thing.
Let's see. There's an article about 5 years ago, Dr. Flemson or something. He really disagreed with the direction of Jill's research.
John Fleming of Uppsala University. He published in the Journal of Earth Science of July 20 of 2000.
And the more that I see this, like, this is really like, Apple Intelligence has the greatest chance of like getting close to this vision, but to me it's never going to get there because it's drowning in distraction, right? Like if it's focused, it's amazing, but it's just not. Like it's here we have like video calls happening.
You've just put out the definitive article on deforestation.
Aha. Is this one of your typical last-minute panics for lecture material?
No, that's not...
So there are elements here that make so much sense. And I don't know if I'm like getting across like what I'm trying to say is like there's these older visions of the future that did not involve like, again, drowning us in advertising, drowning us in distraction. Like this is more like, again, like this is a very focused experience. And that's what I want to sort of bring back is like, I want a phone like that just does phone stuff really well, has applications that are truly just useful and helpful in organizing my life without any of the distractions. I don't want the distractions there, period. I just don't want them there. And then having the same experience with the computer as well, right? So like the phone operating system is just one piece. The computer is another piece. Like it basically just involves taking out all this excess, and leaving what's truly like helps you be more productive, right? And so, there may be some AI tools involved in the future, right? There may be things like that, but it's like it has to be focused around number one, distraction free, and number two, like helping you be more productive. And then number three is like without any of the distractions. Because like, man, like I wish we were here, right? But the reality of this experience is like there's the App Store and there's a trillion different applications and then there's all this social media and everything else, and it's like it's just too much. It's just too much vying for your time and attention, right? Like the fact that this guy got up after 5 minutes and left the room being done, and he even left this thing behind, to me is like that's the goal, right? As opposed to like what the reality is, this person's carrying this around all day, and then they just look at it from the time they get up in the morning until the time they go to bed, right? With this device or their phone or their tablet or whatever. if I can create a super, 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 super focused experience on an e-reader, for example, and then so when you pick that up, the only thing you can do is read the books and with nothing else. Or if you sit down in front of your computer, the only thing you can do is open up apps that are actually help you be productive, right? Whether you want to code or you want to do art stuff, graphic design stuff, whatever you want to do, without an open web browser that just has the possibility to go anywhere and do anything, where it really just focuses you down on those useful tools for productivity without any distraction. If we do that for your phone, if we do that for the computer, if we do that for the television, if we do that for the tablet, or the e-reader, right? Or in the watch, all these devices that we're familiar with and make sense, right? And it makes sense that they've turned electronic, as in the Westinghouse video. If we this is my vision, okay? We can do all those things and at the same time eliminate all of the distractions from them. It's life-changing. This is what, to me, what made BlackBerry amazing. Okay, I'm just gonna keep going here. BlackBerry 7230. Okay, so here's the device. Take a look.
All right, good.
Let me not autoplay this, and then check out these people's videos if you want more of a tour. But I'm gonna skip here. So this device here was one of my favorites. Okay, this was an early mid BlackBerry, I guess, in terms of their life. And at this point in time, this device was known as a crackberry, meaning it was unbelievably addictive for business purposes. Okay, this if you look at here, this is what we have. Okay, we had email. Oh, sorry, we had this is messages. So those big text messages. You had your phone, you had your contacts, you had your calendar. I believe this was email. This allowed you to search your device. I guess it had. I think several of these icons were just for email. This was maybe even this one actually. I can't remember 100%, right? But I think this was compose a message, and this was notes, okay, alarm clock, speaker settings, right? I think this was volume control, that sort of thing. And then we had Brick Breaker, which is a simple game. You had a calculator, some tools, and on and off and some settings, okay? This device to me was so brilliant because you could communicate with people very effectively on this device, whether you needed to call them or you needed to email them. You take notes, you have your calendar organized, you have your notes there, you have your calculator there. There's additional tools that can make this experience better, but when BlackBerry kind of gave up and switched to Android, it's even way before that, when the iPhone came out, and particularly with this App Store experience, all of these cell phone companies wanted to become they all wanted to be the iPhone, right? And they felt what's the word? It's they felt insecure about what they had, right? Because what the competitor was offering was more and more and more. I mean, it's not just that. The iPhone, one of the major things was multi-touch and having a full touch screen, and the big innovation was kind of going away from the keyboard, which wasn't even totally an Apple invention, but multi-touch, the way that you interact and pinch to zoom and things, that really was an Apple thing. Apple sort of mastered that. sort of user experience with using your fingers as opposed to using this, which had a scroll wheel on the side you can't really see, or the keyboard, you know. So in my opinion, what BlackBerry, like, the reason the BlackBerry, they were always going to lose market share, but the reason that they lost so much is because they forgot, like, what was important, like what actually made them great. So when the BlackBerry tried to come back, we had like the Key 2.
I care about you guys.
I hate this autoplay thing, but so like, I don't know. They kept trying to come back to these this BlackBerry experience. We'll just like scroll down here, but ultimately it was never the same because I'm trying to get a good picture of the hardware here. And if they're going off like different alternatives, to me, like, people associated the keyboard with BlackBerry's success because BlackBerry was so known for having the best keyboard. Okay, like, that's what people associated with it. So every time that BlackBerry's tried to come back, the mistake that they've made is that they think their success was because of the keyboard. like to me, it's insane. Okay, I just want to put like a picture of this. Oops, key. Well, there's a key 1. There's a key 2. Like, I've talked about this before. I'm not anti-keyboard, okay? But what I would say about like the BlackBerry hardware that's came out in the last several years, like, it is absolutely gorgeous hardware, okay? Like, this hardware-wise, whether you're looking at the BlackBerry Key 2, like, even with the keyboard, I don't care. Like, you put the keyboard on there, some people use it, some people don't. You know, to me, a keyboard is sort of unnecessary, but it's also not like the worst thing in the world. I've loved the hardware. Passport. I loved the BlackBerry hardware. Like, the past several, the last few BlackBerries that came out, like, the hardware is just gorgeous. Okay, absolutely gorgeous. The problem was they never, again, like, they still, like, whether they were using their own operating system or whether they switched to Android, which they finally did. Like, this, I think, is still the BlackBerry OS, where eventually they just switched to Android. Okay, the problem wasn't the hardware, right? And you're always going to have YouTubers who are going to be like, oh, the camera spec here and there, like, because these YouTubers, like, really care about cameras because all they do is play with cameras all day. But, so you're going to get some, like, backlash about camera quality and screen quality and stuff like that. But my thing is, if I can make this bigger, this is a YouTube thing. If I can make this bigger, here we go. Like, this simple alpaca, thank you for just kind of showing us real quick. Like, to me, and I emailed the BlackBerry CEO like years ago about this, okay? Like, I swear to God I could make BlackBerry great again. Okay? But whatever. So I'm just making my own phone, okay? They had a great messaging application, okay? And they had some other really great BlackBerry applications. To me, like that was their strength, but they're too afraid of not having everything else. Like, that to me is the downfall. Okay, like, because Apple had so many applications, they're afraid that they don't have enough applications. It's like, you know, even just like things like LinkedIn, right? Like, I get that this might be like a good business application potentially, right? But then if you get into like Twitter and Facebook, unless you're literally using these for business, then there's no reason to have these on there. Okay? Like, zero. And in fact, like, for me, it's like, okay, well, if we're gonna have some social media, right, it should just be like a one-way thing. Like, if there was a Twitter application where all I could do was post something, I could post a photo, I could post some text, and that's it. I don't see anything else that's going on. I don't see the trending tab. I don't see all the videos. I don't see all the controversy. I don't see all the news. Like, right, I'm just saying, like, I'm just trying to get information out about my business out to the world. Like, that to me, okay, fine. But having the full application, absolutely not. Same thing with Facebook. If I need to, like, and so when I'm looking at building these tools for the phone, it's like, okay, I mean, it's now called X, but I don't see a problem having a X app where all you can do is post and not see anything else. Okay? Maybe you can see some analytics, okay? But that's it. Not the full application, and certainly not a web browser. Like, if they just, like, I mean, they were so desperate to get applications. They were trying to partner with Amazon, and so that this Amazon App Store. It's just like, it just all was unnecessary. It's like, get this out of here, get this out of here. Keep the maps, I'm not sure exactly what BlackBerry Hub was, but keep the maps, keep the, you know, maybe even the Story Maker thing looks like some maybe video editing thing. That's cool. You know, videos to watch what you have, like videos you've made or whatever, cool. Music, cool. Pictures, cool. Like lists, like some sort of to-do application, cool. Like clock, cool. Weather, cool. But here, you know, Facebook, absolutely not. Twitter, absolutely not. Same thing with LinkedIn even. You know, it's like, if there's a way to, and these are like literally applications that I'll be looking to build for the distraction-free phone or the smartish phone, is like, okay, we could have a LinkedIn thing where you could post, make a post and put it on LinkedIn and see analytics or see responses. Or just having the messenger portion of LinkedIn, for example, without anything else. I've already talked about the Twitter thing. I've already talked about the Facebook thing. Okay. Let's go back to that was the first page. Second page. So like, look, an assistant. Like, again, like, you know, there's definitely room here for a GPT style assistant, right? To ask questions, get information, generally speaking. Like, there's room for that. Camera, obviously. Phone, obviously. A PDF reader, yes. But then, like, when you get into YouTube, like, YouTube's a big problem. So this is where I'm looking at, like, okay, how do we allow a certain amount of content, like a very specific content that's more focused content, right? Like, is it truly educational content? Or if it's like, you know, study video content, that type of thing, like, but not the entire application. So this is kind of how I'm doing that, right? It's like breaking these things down to what's absolutely essential and what actually helps, right? Or if there's an application to upload a YouTube video, right? Like, without having to use the YouTube Studio application, right? I mean, if I could just have a phone right now with just the YouTube Studio and no access to the YouTube application, that would be amazing. And I'll see if I can make that happen, right? With the APIs and everything else. So, this wasn't too bad, but there was already like, again, like there's some distracting stuff on here that kind of killed it. And then plus the need for like this app. I mean, because like there's so many applications. Like how many iPhone apps are there? 2 million. Okay, like I'm sorry. Like, it's just not. It's not that these apps aren't useful and good. It's just too much choice. So if we go back to this, like, Westinghouse future vision, I don't know what you called it. Like, and, obviously this has its own aesthetic and everything else. But, like, do we really... Like, some of the stuff is great, right? Having a camera to see who's at the front door, cool. But, like, if we had this vision of the future that, like, in your house, in every single room of this house, everyone would be carrying around a device with 2 million applications on it, right? Like how many YouTube videos are there? There's 3.9 billion. Like, if we looked at like the access to entertainment, like there wasn't even a thought about like where we pull out the projector, okay, that there's 3.9 billion different videos to watch, and that's just YouTube alone. That's not including all of the streaming music services or streaming video services, right? Or if, with the record player, it's like, and you might think, okay, this is like I said, you can't get caught up on the aesthetic of this. It's just the point of like, it makes sense for people to have a music collection. You like a certain amount of music and you get that. But like when you get into streaming music like Spotify, I'm sorry, but Spotify's not going to ever be on this phone because we don't need access to that much music all the time, not to mention all the times where all of a sudden, like with Spotify, if you have your favorite record right here, they can just remove it. Like that's literally a problem. Like every time I've used one of these streaming music applications, not to pick on Spotify, it's all of them. Okay, it's just a licensing problem. Then, and maybe I should just like start thinking about stopping recording this, but like it's really infuriating when you're like, ooh, I'd like to listen to that one song I really like, and you go to play it and it's literally not available. But if you have physical media, if you have bought the record, if you have it on CD, if you have it on cassette, if you purchased the MP3 in the past, then you have access to it, okay? And you have like a limited collection, right? This is also like a big part of it. Like, we've kind of like done this experiment to see like how much we can do, how much entertainment, how many applications, how many videos, like how fast, how big the screens can get. Like we've kind of done this social experiment just based on like the technology we continue to develop. And the reality is like, I think it's time for limits, okay? Because what limits provide is then room for different things. Socialization, reading a book, okay? Like listening to a record, like doing other things, maybe playing a musical instrument. I believe this is like some sort of, I don't know what that is, some sort of sitar or guitar or something, or having these experiences for like, socialization has taken such a hit over this last like many years. I feel like it's like decline of socialization. And it's not so much in like other countries even, like they're still like way more social than we are, I think, in the US right now. And I think so much of that is because of the phone, because of the, all the things, the social media, the yada, 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 right? So I can keep going on for days and days and days, but it's like, I would love it if the technology that I create gets people to just call someone on the phone, maybe even hang out with them in person, and hang out without even having, like, maybe have some music going on in the background or whatever, but there's no reason to sit there and stare at your phone, right? Like, this vision would be like, everybody's carrying a phone and everybody's looking at their phone. Like that, literally, that's what would be happening to all of these people, okay? Everybody gets a phone, everybody's looking at their phone the entire time. Like, no. Like, that's not what we want. We want people interacting with each other and enjoying their environment, doing other things. So I think that gets plenty of the point, and I'll see if I upload this or not.